Good night. Have one son tonight. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma Michelle Spiritual Divine. Here give you your short news on tonight. Um St. Tammany Sheriff Randy Smith prevailed in the suit over Captain Fine for living with a felon. So federal judge said the sheriff office policy did not violate Captain right. Appears the court upheld that ruling. So federal judge, um, so he don't think the policy was not violated, by the captain ranks. So the sheriff Randy sued over a policy that forced him to choose his girlfriend, or his job, as he lost a second round in legal challenges of his fine, So this sheriff, you know, um, he had a girlfriend that was family, so he would chose to either end the relationship or either keep your job, or lose your job, So before he can make any decision, they already had fired him. So Karen Lewis sued the sheriff office, claiming a department policy that forbid deputies from having a personal relationship or associated with non-felony or in in a work release program. So violate his constitutional rights to free association. You know, we see that Kevin Lewis, he sued against a policy that forbid deputies for any personal relationship with a family. But the United States District Judge Barry, he dismissed Lewis suit in 2019. So this was a case way back then, 2019. So there were three members panel, appear on Wednesday to uphold Barry rule. Now this happened way in 2019, but now this case is brought back up. So Larry's attorney for Calvin Lewis, said that his client had not decided what to do next. But the field central are trying to go to the Supreme Court. They're trying to take it to the Supreme Court. But Randy Smith, he applauds the ruling, saying the policy was in, the best interest of the public. So they're saying this policy is really for the best interest of the public, because you have these deputies, they have to arrest a lot of felons. They have to arrest people that own robbery. They have to arrest people that doing all kinds of stuff they're not supposed to be doing. you know. So this policy was for the best interest of the public, So for the public to see um, you dating someone that's a felon, that you arrest people that doing certain things, So with the public seeing it, they see it a whole different way, So Lewis, who had been promoted, now he was promoted as captain, in 2017, you know, was fired that same year, you know. Um, the sheriff officer policy, is that banned the relationship, with felony. So he did file a federal lawsuit in 2018. So Lewis has spent a decade of living with a woman convicted of felony in 2005. So they've been together a long time. So I don't know why, they pull all this up, I guess the same year he had a promotion, and help raise the two children. So that's a long time they was together. For it to just be brought up soon as he got promoted. So this woman had been convicted of bank fraud in Arkansas. So Lewis August, the sheriff officer policy, was selected, enforcing that the others in the agency have relationship also, that they violate the policy. But it was used against him because he felt like, he was African American. So he made a statement that, there's others in the relationship in the program, in the agency, So he's saying that others in the relationship, but So that's something he threw out there that he had to get information to have it backed up. You know, so the judge also said that the policy doesn't prohibit the relationship itself. That Lewis didn't provide evidence to back it up. His selective enforcement claim. So if he would, he said they had others, done the same thing. But if he was able to come up with evidence, he probably would have had a case. So Lewis argued in a part that the lower court had denied his request to amend his complaint, to provide additional information about the accusation, enforcement, so he threw out accusation, but he had to have evidence to enforce his claim. She also argued that the court not recognized the policy, as an infringement on his right to associate, incident effect. Now the Fifth Central agreed with the lower court that the policy owner at incidentally affect the right to an intimate association because it required employees who violate the policy to the, to their job, but did not prohibit the relationship itself. You know, so Lewis requests. So he requests to amend his complaint to provide additional information, you know, concerning his complaint. Now the sheriff offers motion to dismiss it. So he's saying he trying to bring evidence, to claim that he thrown out there, but he's saying it to dismiss his claim. So Judge James Dennis agreed with the majority of several issues. So Lewis should have. So he's saying Lewis should have been allowed to omit his complaint, but Dennis wrote saying that it was an abuse of discretion on the part of the lower court to deny him. So the opportunity to provide information that's out to very heart of his selective enforcement complaint. So Lewis' relationship should have been analyzed. You know, it should have been analyzed because it was a long relationship that he was in, and they just not bringing it up. You know, this case was like way in 2019, but like when he first got the promotion, that's when everything started falling down in that same year. So those relationships should have been analyzed like a marriage to apply to the condition of the state employment that restrict any employee right to marry. So they were saying they should have analyzed his claim as a married couple. They should have did it as a married couple to restrict employees' rights to marry. So by he wasn't married, and they coming at him with that, so they were saying if he was married, then it would have had restrict rules of not being involved with somebody. He was not married, and they didn't analyze it as a married couple. He that all that should have been at front page. So didn't analyze his relationship as a married couple. So as a married couple, it would have been up front restrict rules for employees, not to marry felony. But since he did not marry her, they came at him with that. And he said they've been together since 2005, so it's kind of a long time for it to just be bringing up. So Randy Smith, in the meanwhile, said in a prepared statement that he is pleased with the ruling which upholds the decision to fire Lewis as a lawful, you know, a lawful of a discretion to make a personal decision that uphold his agency. You know, so Smith said the decision to fire Lewis came after an internal review confirming his girlfriend. You know, so they stated as a felony is that the two were living together and he refused to end the relationship. So they were saying that he knew about it, the policy. Said, and so they was like they brought it to his attention, but he refused to end the relationship. refused to end the relationship. And they stated Lewis, knowing in a violation of St. Paris, Sheriff Office policy that he was lawfully terminated. This policy prohibited his employees from having close and intimate relationship. So with knowing fairly that it's in the best interest of the public and his agency. So the policy was for the public, the best interest of the public, you know. So St. Paris deputy fired for living with a fairly losing legal challenges to the policy. Former St. Tammany deputy who lived with a felony filed a suit over his fine. The former St. Tammany deputy sued over fine challenges policy on prohibiting relationship. You know, um, Randy Smith prevailed. He the one that prevailed the suit over Captain. Remember he got a promotion. He was a captain. He was fired for living with a family. And they was living together for a long time. And then he said he helped raise her two children. So Randy stated that the policy was in the best interest of the public. So they made this policy for the public and make the public feel safe. That they're arresting these people with different felonies. So they came up with a policy for to be in the best interest of the public, to let them know we're not gonna have a relationship with these felonies that we arrested. So which I agree, because you have to arrest. When you arrest these people with all kind of felonies, you arrest someone for robbing a bank, you arrest someone from doing this, doing that. So then the public see you in a relationship, with a felony, probably, had the same felony of somebody that you arrest. So now sometimes the felony that served. Now, if a felony that served their time, didn't serve their time, they're free to get involved with anybody that they choose to get involved with. That is free. You know, if they didn't serve their time, they're free to live their life. So Karen Lewis was he was promoted as a captain. They dig into his relationship in the same year. And then they fired him. So they addressed the policy that he had a church for him. Supposed to end a relationship. With his girlfriend or lose a job. So due to as his position to the public, as his position that due to the public, the best interest is to not date anyone to have a family. Because you have to look at, y'all made this policy, the best interest of the public. So sometimes sometimes all the time y'all arresting all kind of criminals. So the public pretty much don't want to see you date someone that just did, not the person, but still you arresting all kind of felons. So the public pretty much don't want to see you in that kind of relationship with a felon. So where be the best interest of the public? So Lewis also stated that had others. He also stated that there was others was in relationship, violate the policy. But he's saying nothing was done, and he think they used his against him because he was African American. So it was dismissed due to it wasn't, it was dismissed because they're saying he couldn't provide evidence to back up his claim, enforcement claim. So they were saying, he had enough evidence to prove his claim that he stated that some others, in the same relationship violating the policy, but he had to show proof, that they was violating the policy, you know, and he was in a relationship since 2005, and the same year he got promoted. They dig up all kinds of stuff and hold that, use that against him. You know, so we see they're saying that he violated the policy. You know, so what I'm saying, you know, y'all have a policy that dealing with the public and dealing with your position of your job. You have to address that at the beginning. You have to be addressed at the beginning that, you know, address these policies, you know, and you got a lot of, you know, you shoulders of police. So you got a lot of police that's starting new, you know, so address all these policies, you know, to the new employees, you know, so let them know, you know, y'all position is to arrest a lot of felons, you know, so let them know the policy, you know, you don't want them to violate the policy. So, you know, I advise, you know, to address all these rules and regulations, all these policy addresses, you know, because you're getting so many new police is starting, you know, and it needs to know what to do and what not to do, you know. So, since this occurred, you know, it needs to be addressed, you know, at the beginning, you know, it needs to be addressed that you have a policy, you know, it's in the best interest of the public, you know, the do's and the don'ts that you want them not to do. You know, so that's all the show news I have for you today. Y'all have a blessed night. See you in the next video.